Well, let's start this list off with the EPs.
So number 5 we have Rotoscope by Spirit Box, and they kicked off this year pretty strong with this 3-song little EP here, kind of out of nowhere, no announcement beforehand. Following up their last album, Eternal Blue, 2021, really strongly with a strange change in style, a very very sudden change in style, to a more like almost new metal-y feel, very like bouncy, fun, more of their pop aesthetic incorporated too in a lot of the singing, but it all flows very well, and in a way that just is very enjoyable in this little bite-sized EP. So that's our number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have Void of Vision Chronicles 2 Heaven. So they released 3 EPs throughout the year, this being the best in most people's opinion, including mine. It's got the insane choruses that they have, these beautiful dark melodic choruses mixed with the very very heavy doom-esque riffage, very aggressive and punchy mixing, and I thought this was just a very solid release from them. I think it's their best work to date. It's a very good solid 5 songs from Void of Vision. Number 3, we have the split EP from End and Cult Leader, Gather and Mourn. Now this EP is definitely one of the heaviest releases of the year, with starting off with End in the first 2 songs. You got End starting off the first half of the EP with Eden Will Drown, and then The Host Will Soon Decay, which is probably their most odd, experimental, strange song to date. It's got this very like apocalyptic, unpredictable vibe, and then Cult Leader kind of comes in with their typical grindcore, very aggressive, also unpredictable style of music, and they mix very well. It's a great split from these 2 bands, and I think they work very well together. At number 2, we have a very small band called From Joy with their EP Away. It's 4 songs, 3 of them being mostly breakcore, and the last song being this incredibly unique, experimental, boundary-pushing blend of breakcore and mathcore, metalcore, whatever you want to call it. It's incredible. I love it. This is one of my favorite releases of the year. I can't wait to see what they're going to do next. It's a very, very somber, melancholic, and perfect mix of 2 pretty unique styles. And number 1 for EPs this year, we have Kublai Khan TX with Lowest Form of Animal. This is very dirty, raw hardcore. This is like just it's Kublai Khan's Texan style of just delivering you straight to the point, punchy, heavy hardcore, just beat down, good stuff. And this is their best work yet, I think. I think they got very very dynamic riffage here, very interesting concepts. I think Swan Song is probably their best song to date, and I really, really cannot wait to see what they do for an album, hopefully in the near future. So number 10, we have Northlane with their album Obsidian from, I think, about March of this year. This is a very, very unique release, and while I'm not as pleased with it as their 2019 album Alien, I thought that was maybe the perfect blend of electronic metal and metalcore with any sort of electronics mixed in. I thought that was extremely good. This release is more in that direction, almost like EDM disco core at some points, and it's very interesting, and I really do love the way it sounds. It just, for me, it wasn't as emotionally as impactful as their 2019 release, but it's still a very, very solid album and a great release from Northlane.
After listening to Euthanasia by Straight From The Path, I really like the social commentary elements of it, but then also, as it's a heavy album, it also included some rap elements, which I thought was very nice, and it really brings a nice uniqueness to the table that isn't in many other albums.
At number 8, we have Thornhill's Heroin. Now, this is another release where I think their last album, 2019's The Dark Pool, was better, but I think this is a very solid, adventurous follow-up to that album. It's more like dark and brooding. It's very moody. My only complaint would be that at times it's too high school. Like it's a little cliche. Honestly, a little cringy if you're not in the right state of mind. But honestly, I think they executed every single song very well, and I think they're just really, really good, moody, emotional bangers with pretty unique songwriting behind them.
Now, A Eulogy for Those Still Here by Counterparts was actually a really surprisingly progressive and enjoyable take on an old genre of more melodic metalcore, and with actually some ferocious breakdowns even included in there, combined with impactful choruses to get number 7 on the list.
Number 6, we have Orthodox, Learning to Dissolve. This is one of the more inventive metalcore, deathcore releases of the year. I think they did a very good job at making this uniquely raw, despite having very, very interesting songwriting and things like that. I think it just hits super hard. It's very manic. There's a lot of manic releases this year, I feel like, towards the top. But this one especially has a very, like, almost psychopathic vibe in a lot of the songs, and it just hits really hard, and I think it's pretty unique, especially in the way they blend it with all the instrumentals.
At number 5, we have Oh What the Future Holds by Fit for an Autopsy, and this one, probably one of the most heaviest things I've listened to, and let's just say, after listening to this, my ears were fit for an autopsy.
Number 4, we have Chat Pile, God's Country. Now this is a demented album. This is a very, very, just a very dark, heavy, demented, psychotic album, and I think it's an incredible use of the sludge sound mixed into something maybe even a little more accessible for some people with songs like Pamela. It's a pretty short release, but it's a very, very solid release with the last track called what, Grimace Smoking Weed.jpg.
Yes, I love that one.
What a banger. Like, it's some of the most visceral, disgusting sludge metal, heavy music I've heard in a while.
Yeah, sometimes it sounds like this guy isn't even saying what he's writing. He's just saying things that just comes to his head.
But he means them. Like the track Why,
about the people who live outside.
People who live outside. He asks simple questions. Why do people have to live outside?
Why?
I think it's such an impactful question. Very heavy song. The message shines through the entire thing. It's very, very good. Very solid release from Chat Pile.
This World's Going to Ruin You by Vane FM was actually very unique in a way because just the energy held behind each song had just this chaotic feel to it that even gave me like heartthrobs while listening to it. Like my heart started racing, but overall I really like that. So it's got number 3 on the list.
Number 2, we got Boundaries, Burying Brightness. Now this one was very neck and neck with number 1, and it was my number 1 for a while, but this is a very solid release. It's maybe the best blend I've heard in years of old school metalcore with new manic heavy form of metalcore that you see branching up in a lot of the releases this year on this list. It's a great mix. I think there's a huge emotional maturity with a lot of these songs and the songwriting. I think it's just a better take on, I don't know, depression, mental illness, all these things. I think it's extremely mature in the way it takes it on and tackles it. And the instrumentals are amazing. They blend together so well. Addictive songwriting, incredible stuff from Boundaries. I can't wait to hear what they have next. Have fun with that.
Now on number 1, we have the one, the only, Fleshwater, We're Not Here to Be Loved, aka the Ducky album. Honestly, I'm not even that big of a connoisseur of this kind of genre of music, I guess. But when I first listened to this, I was literally in the car with you. I was like, what is this album? We have to listen to the whole thing. And I think it just shows that an album that can appeal to both a seasoned veteran like you and a little noob like me, it's just perfect. And also there's the Kiss the Ladder, a masterpiece.
Excellent song.
Excellency. And without that, I just don't think we could give this a spot other than number 1.
Yeah, and that specific song, Kiss the Ladder, is a good example of this more fun side despite being, it's like a very fun, accessible song, and this album can be very dark and brooding and extremely just very melancholic, yet there's still this fun, almost playful vibe, and you can see that. It's in the album cover, despite how weird it is, it's almost perfect conveying what sound you're going to hear. It's this weird image of a duck, a rubber duck. That's the playful aspect, but there's this dark overtone on the whole image.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what this album sounds like. It's very, very nice. It's extremely unique in my opinion. Despite being maybe a little derivative of the 2000s, it's a very nostalgic, familiar feeling, yet it doesn't rip anyone off directly, and it does the style incredibly well and pushes it to new limits where I think a lot of other bands fall short. So this is definitely my release of the year. Incredible album. Every song in here is amazing. There's so much to unpack.
and enjoy, and it's accessible. Yeah, very good album.